appears to be no evidence that he has much of a relationship with either of his two children. And while they are individually successful in their own right, they don't have anything to say about their father that I've been able to find. This would be typical, as any cluster B after discard will protect their reputation to the highest and greatest degree possible, most likely buying off or threatening those who might be a threat to that reputation. His reputation has allowed him to do solo work with a great number of artists, including Cher, and yet he always shares co-writing because someone else does the writing, most likely. He gets the credit, he does the singing, he can show up, he can maintain those short-term relationships with the shiny new thing, but nothing permanent ever seems to come of it, because as with all cluster Bs, while they idealize you at first, like a child idealizing a new toy, they get bored with it very quickly, and then they start bad-mouthing it, devaluing it, destroying it, so that they can say they're the good ones, and they can say everyone else is the bad one that made them do it. This all strikes me as ridiculously clear evidence of what would be typical childish behavior. And ultimately, we recognize that that's what cluster Bs are. They're emotional children with full adult rights and skills. They have excellent observation skills. They're seldom hardworking, however, and in fact, Cetera complained. Part of the reason he wanted to break up with Chicago was because the record label had them on an extensive tour lineup schedule that he simply didn't want to participate in. It was just too much work for Peter. And he didn't get along with his band members anyway. And I wonder why. He's probably triangulating against all of them the entire time. He describes at one point that Chicago's dynamic was, well, we had every problem that any band could foresee, and that's a paraphrase. I wonder why. When you have a member, the last one to join, one who dropped his previous band and within 2 weeks, very quick seduction, was in Chicago, and then griped about it, well, that seems to be very childish in cluster B. And at the age of 70, in his 20s, he gets into a fight at a baseball game that is significantly severe, that he has reconstructive surgery. No long-term relationships, really. And Diane Nini, in fact, wrote the #1 hit that in 1976 propelled Peter to center stage in the band, and the one that really killed the rock and roll that was Chicago and turned it into a ballad band or chick band. And that song has been widely featured, their first Grammy, big, huge hit, and Diane Nini gets secondary writing credit on it. This, of course, being the famous "If You Leave Me Now." But let's go back to the song in question. And this one struck me because it resonated very hard, very strongly with me. I'll sing a little bit of it, if you'll forgive my voice. But it begins beautifully, in a very lovely way. I do believe in you, and I know you believe in me. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And now we realize love's not all it's supposed to be. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And knowing that you would have wanted it this way, I do believe I'm feeling stronger every day. Hey, hey, hey. Notice, very interesting. I believe in you, I know you believe in me. Well, the first one could be a lie. The second one could be the truth. It could be a lie as well. We don't know. But how interesting is it to say, knowing that you would have wanted it this way, and an emotionally normal person would have, that I do believe I'm feeling stronger every day. I know we really tried. Together we had love inside. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Then, of course, he returns to the chorus, which is really just striking. And knowing that you would have wanted it this way, I do believe I'm feeling stronger every day. Hey, hey, hey. Oh. Very interesting. Very interesting because either it's a poke from someone who wrote it, like Nene, who is telling him, look, I know you don't want it this way. I know you'd rather me be destroyed and gone. But I am feeling stronger every day. Or he wrote it, knowing that it would poke her, because she probably wants nothing to do with him ever again either, much like it appears his children feel. And the band Chicago. Well, if so, he's telling them all, I know you don't want me to succeed, but I'm doing it anyway. Nice little poke in the most clever and beautiful of language that has the added benefit of making him a lot of money off of what is almost certainly someone else's work. I see petulance. I see projection. In fact, in everything that I've read about Cetera, not once does he own up to any responsibility for the breakup of the band. He's at best neutral on the subject, and yet other members will apologize for him, explain some mistakes that they may have made that contributed. They give every indication of being emotionally normal, whereas Mr. Cetera does not. His marital history gives every indication that, in the words of H.G. Tudor, he maintained an intimate partner primary source, as well as multiple intimate partner secondary sources. Undoubtedly, he had secondary sources who were not intimate partners, as well as a complete coterie of hangers-on, well-wishers, and those who will defend his image. There's simply a great deal of evidence, and while I'm not diagnosing anyone, I will certainly mention that the Grammy Award hit, which changed Chicago from a real heavy kind of rock and roll band with horns into, well, something else, was co-written by two other members of Chicago, with Peter Cetera getting top billing, but Terry Kath was right behind him, as was, I believe, Long Cane. So it's not that he did all the work on his own, but he was more than happy to take the credit, almost certainly demanded it, and was constantly pushing his boundaries. How far can I get away with? Will Chicago, will these guys, and it's their band, I was the last to enter it, right? It's really Robert Lamb's band, if we're honest. If that's the case, then, well, gracious, who is it that's pushing the boundaries by asking, hey, I want 50% of the cut, and I want my name to come before the band Chicago? That is not team play. It's not teamwork. It reeks of utter selfishness that would be typical of a cluster B disorder individual. I have nothing against Peter Cetera, and I love his work. Don't get me wrong. I adore Wishing You Were Here, and I adore much of what he takes credit for. That does not mean I do not look for signs now, automatically. If we consider that 1 in every 8 persons has the brain anomaly known as cave of septum pellucidum and or cave of Vergae, and if we believe the 2010 research coming out of the UK that suggests that 1 in every 8 adults has this, and that in fact leads or is associated with psychopathy and sociopathy, it's possible That could describe Peter's